Hello, gang. As you may know, I've been off the scene for a little over a week, so here's a little overview of what happened during the beginning of the halftime of the Oklahoma-Alabama game. A crisis began that did not allow me to finish the second half of that game until 8 to 9 days after last Saturday. If you're a part of a family in crisis, be strong and roll with the punches. Try to keep love in the forefront and seek help from every professional that will listen. Please keep my family in your prayers, and I will do the same for you. And however, faith without works is dead. So let me share a resource with you and those that may be out there that you may or may not be aware of. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline provides free, confidential, emotional support to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week across the United States and the United States' territory. The 988 Lifeline is comprised of a national network of over 200 local crisis centers, combining local care and resources with national standards and best practices. Friends, no need to struggle or suffer alone. Help is available. Call 988 and link into the resources you need. Now, let's talk about the Crimson Tide and these Auburn Tigers. Right now. Roll Tide, Alabama. Welcome to Tide Sports, the Alabama football MegaCast. Roll Tide to everybody, Alabama Nation. Thank you so much for joining me today. Tell everybody to lock me in, buckle up, and let's talk about your Crimson Tide, the greatest dynasty the world has ever seen. I don't think Chelsea ain't got none on us. That Chinese soccer program, they definitely can't. Nothing I can think of. The CFL, I mean, that's like Alabama residue. But before we get rolling, drop a pound on the brother and drop it right down on that subscribe button as you settle in. And let's tell folks what we out here doing. You know what I'm saying? We are headed for our next mile marker of 1,000 subscriptions. So let's keep it going and growing. Let's let the people know where to find me, wherever we may be. And remember, if I successfully stimulate the happy juice in your gray matter and make your funny bone jiggle, please let the algorithm know what I'm doing over here and poke that like button right in the eye. Just poke it right in the eye, folks. Folks, let's get to it. You know what week it is. I missed the Oklahoma game. I think I finished it like 3 days ago. There's been a lot going on. But, hey, Alabama Live's Joseph Goodman is a reporter. He stated the obvious in a recent article, and he said that Alabama football is unrecognizable. I like to change that. I don't say it's I don't recognize the whole team. I just don't recognize the goddamn offense. Who are we? What are they? The answer is I don't know. The offense that can't run the ball, it's like a shell of his former self from days gone by. That's just not Crimson Tide football. I mean, I'm talking about from the days of Saran, Stacy, and Bobby Humphrey. I wasn't talking about SC championships exactly, but damn, we run the ball about 3-4 yards a lick. It seemed we couldn't throw worth a damn. I'm just saying. I watched Reggie Slack over at Auburn, and that was it Jeff Berger, and I was like, man, those guys can spin it. You know what I'm saying? But we can run the ball. This is out the bow, I guess, but we just run the ball with nobody's business. I mean, fans, of course, you know how we are. We are calling out the boy. One says we could win the Iron Bowl, but that they saying that the Alabama fans are saying that the Alabama offense seems to be softer than that stuff that keeps the pecans in the pecan pie. It's like a custard jelly, corn syrup, diabetic thing that happens. Anyway, they say it's softer than that little gel that goes in the inside of there. So if that's true, come Saturday, it ain't Saturday or Friday. I don't know. It ain't Roll Tide. It's gonna be roll over. The game's gonna be over. Another fan may fire back and say, this reminds him of the Isaiah Bonds when we buried him in the, what was that? I don't know what you call the play, Gravedigger play, and I like to call it, something else, but I can't repeat it right here. Alabama don't really, if our special teams, I told y'all, been telling y'all all year, special teams so new they're gonna cost us a half a game, and I think you saw that. Oklahoma's team I thought we would lose to. I think you saw that. I said that special teams that just, you gotta build yourself up to leave most high school. I would say 95 in America, they get the stadium getting bigger and bigger. To leave 98% of high schools and come kick in the SEC, that takes some adjustment, folks. We don't have no reliable kicker. You know what I'm saying? If we did, then, probably won the game. Had a better chance. Ryan Grubb's sideline shuffle and all this stuff going on. I think the boy pulled him down the last game. Maybe because, he wanted him to see what he needs to do. Is this a dress rehearsal for the Iron Bowl? Is he going to send him back up there? I hope not. I hope he can sit there and be like, you call what? Or he can give him the call. He don't have to say it. He don't want to embarrass his boy. But he'll be like, no. As soon as he says 38 G, he's like, Because it's one thing I figured out. It took a while for Caleb DeBoer to sort of get tougher, get more aggressive, to realize that, he's managing these great athletes, but you got to be firm with them. So maybe it's going to take a year for Ryan Grubb. I know that everybody going to say, oh, Ryan Grubb ain't got a year. Well, I don't know. He could leave. But you gave DeBoer another year. Maybe Ryan Grubb don't believe that his stuff don't work. We'll get back to that in a minute. But Are we just overthinking the Oklahoma debacle? I don't think so, because Oklahoma is probably the best complete team we played since Florida State first game was a complete team. And as soon as the game was over, all the completeness of Florida State left the room, I guess, or left the stadium. Vegas isn't buying the Tide. 5.5 favorite. That's Vegas saying good luck. We don't know neither. It looked like they should win, but they don't know. If Alabama loses to Auburn's backup quarterback, a team that's 1-6 in the SEC, forget the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Let's forget the new dynasty, because it's an empire. If you Chinese history, you got multiple dynasties. Anyway, forget the new dynasty. Forget respect. Fans would demand all this stuff, the heads roll and blah, blah, blah. And I am not trying to get any of our coordinators replaced, but I am looking at offensive line coach. I'm looking right at you. The ghost of Jordan Hare, Miss Terry was joking about it, wanting the board at the stadium is haunted. What's haunting is watching Alabama offense sputter like a jalopy instead of running like a Ferrari. It looked like a Ferrari, but it's running like one of them old school Hyundai. My wife had a Hyundai. That was her first car. And if it was a short string riding the ride lawnmower 20 miles, in that car, I felt a lot better on the ride lawnmower. Now, talking about, this, beating someone, about this beating someone's going to get on. Say, I personally think Alabama's going to win this game. It's a couple different reasons, but let me go through the matchup. Alabama's identity is supposed to be a vertical passing game with Ty Simpson slicing and dicing secondaries and, being all efficient and situational running. I don't know if they could try to get 130 yards. I don't even know if they try to do 200 yards. I'm more the 200 yards rushing mindset, but they, 130, 150 would be nice. And we got a defense that locks down windows, then deadbolts the door, then grabs baseball bats and beat anybody down and try to cross the 5-yard line. I like them. I like what y'all wanted, but see, y'all wanted Kane gone last year because you didn't get inside the numbers, and I did. The top 10, we got top 10 defense, top 10 in scoring, total defense, yard allowed per game, efficient, cold-blooded, and got the rankings to prove it. The offense is not that. I do remind myself that the coaches like the board, like I said, they walk in and grub, like, hey, I got the best stuff. I got the best stuff in football. Can't nobody touch it. Then you come over here in the SEC and they knock the stuffing out of your greatness. And you got to figure it out. Or you get run like Brian Kelly. I think it's going to take time. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Grubb thinks it's supposed to work. He's telling the boys it's supposed to work. But for the fact that he pulled him down to the sideline, matter of fact, I'm thinking I finished the Oklahoma game after the East Illinois game. Whew. Hence, maybe they brought him down because he wanted to correct what's going on, but not making major adjustments for Auburn, Auburn struggling team. Now, defense, that's one thing, but their identity is a multiple quarterback shuffling, morphing into a dual threat, sparked by Deuce Knight, who I don't even know how many passes he threw. The days of Saban, I would have said, really, first time starting to get Saban is kind of one of your best times to get after Saban. But I just don't think they're going to have enough. They've ground a lot of teams into the ground with tough defense and Jeremiah Cobb running the ball, and like nobody as of yet can stop Cam Coleman, as far as I can see, without pass interference. But I think we got a couple of fellas that's up to the task. I just do. Between coverages, sometimes you got to double team him. You can't be arrogant. You got to cover this dude. You may have to bracket him because he is like that. They tough as nail. They're stingy. A stingy scoring unit that keeps the games close, while the offense has been stuttering. Now, they were able to run all over Mercer the other day, but hey, we're not Mercer. We have our problems, but we are not Mercer. We are not that team right there. Alabama imposes pace, an explosive pass game, and a suffocating defense. Auburn leans on ball control, which I wish we would lean on a lot more instead of throwing the ball so much, and that front seven toughness at Auburn. Bama tends to bend you to their wheel, and Auburn tries to hang around and hope you blink. And we're going to have to keep our eyes shut if we lose their team. Because I ain't gonna lie, losing this game, Yeah, it's going to be mean a lot of things, to rankings, to the playoffs, but losing that game, that takes Alabama to me all the way back to the Vanderbilt game, past the last Oklahoma game, because it seemed like, we got problems with Oklahoma anyway. Anyway, Auburn has posted, got a plus 11 turnover margin. That's pretty good. They haven't been able to turn into a lot of points, but essentially that's pretty good. That's better than Alabama's plus 6. They're about equal in time of possession. I think we're a little bit higher. Alabama is ranked number 10 in the AP, and Auburn is not ranked nationally, but I do have them ranked right next to the outhouse out there in Chehaw, Alabama, next to my grandmama's property. Yeah, but Alabama's number 5 in the FPI. Their matchup favors us 73%. And let's see, when you're looking at statistics, Alabama's offense 415, 300 through the air. I wouldn't count on that all the time. Alabama scrapes together 370 yards, leaning on the run. We're a little bit better on the run than that. Not too much better, but I do expect 2 nice, sizable, big whopper mat type runs from the Auburn offense on Alabama. We dropped 33.8 points a game. Auburn comes in at 27.4. It's a mismatch in firepower. Defensively, Alabama's defense has been a fortress, allowing 270 yards, 16.2 points a game. Auburn only gets 27 points a game, so maybe we can meet somewhere beneath 16. Auburn's units is respectable on defense, 333 yards allowed, 20.1 points, but the Tide suffocates people in the red zone. Auburn has that bend and prays not to break, because sometimes they just give out of gas because the offense can't burn enough clock time, and they give out in the fourth quarter. But against the run, Auburn shines, 94 yards a game. That's good, because I'd be happy to have 94 yards based on the rushing offense we've been putting out there thus far. But Alabama do lock down both phases of the ball, slightly better than Auburn. Now, all those stats I just said, just let that sink in for a minute. Okay, let it sink in. I want you to process that. I want you to say, well, you're an Auburn fan, we close. If we're Alabama game, we got the edge. No, take all that stats, stick them in a bucket, wrap them in newspaper, and throw it in the fireplace. So it don't matter. Those stats right there don't matter. But the most important thing that matters, is pretty consistent in a rivalry game, is the turnover. Alabama's been turning the ball over lately. Auburn's been taking advantage of people's turnovers. It's their saving grace. Alabama can simply just control the game with our depth and our efficiency. Auburn's time possession comes in at about 29 minutes. But see, Alabama, I think we come in right at 30, but we don't typically use the clock enough. One thing I think they need to change going forward forever. In this matchup, we absolutely must burn that doggone clock. So I think Alabama will survive on grit and turnovers, but if we give 2, which usually have lately been coming from Ty, interception and getting strip sacked in the huddle, it's going to be a long day if we don't take control of this game. Auburn's going to be fighting to stay close. We're trying to dictate the scoreboard. I think it's all roll tide, and don't forget about it. Deuce Knight, true freshman, had a big explosion against Mercer. 401 yards, 6 TDs, including a 75-yard house call on his legs. Total snaps have been limited for the season, but he's here, and they're getting him ready for next year for some coach. He has acceleration. He has instant stress for, to contain rules. I mean, one thing that got away from us during the game against FSU was Constellanos' ability to not only escape, but we gave him escape routes, meaning we didn't have a consistent contain. People were just flying up the field here, left, right, and all this other stuff, doing what they want to do, and there was plenty of gaps for him to escape. We do that with Deuce Knight, he will go 75 yards on you, unless Bray Hubbard or somebody can hawk him down. Auburn has several deep defensive players we need to watch out for. A couple I'm watching out for: Xavier Atkins, front 7 tone setter, 15.5 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks. He's a leading presence. He's a chaos agent. and their best pass rusher, in my opinion. Keldrick Faulk. He's long and explosive, sets that edge. He wins with his length. The guy's going to have to put him on his butt. If not, he going to cause a problem. He is the anchor, I think, to that DJ Durkin scheme. He's the person that's going to be trying to put major dents in that pass pocket integrity. He's going to be trying to put dents in it. He's going to put a dent on the left side. He's going to put a dent in the middle. He's going to put a dent in between that. And eventually he wants to get through one of those dents, create a crack, and crack Ty Simpson upside his head. He's been a little banged up lately. I hope that the Alabama offensive linemen and others will govern themselves accordingly. But if he get matched up with a running back, all I can say, check it, Ty, run. Because our running backs, not Daniel Hill, but for the most part, overall, our group of running backs, they block like they're kicking specialists. You know, punter. How would you expect a punter to block? Yeah, that's what our running backs do. How would you expect the kicker to block a blitz? Pick up kicker. I need you to go out and pick up this blitz. What you think about to happen? That's what's been happening. Yeah. So Deuce Knight, dual threat, elite open field speed. Like I said, oh man, forces safeties to stay honest. So that means you can't just bracket Cam all the time. You got to mix it up, which is something we do. His weakness, of course, is experience and processing. Limited reps against FBS team, SEC. I mean, Mercer is one thing, but trying to figure out any SEC team, especially our defense, is another. So is post-snap rotations going to be a problem for him? The little creepers that come up, simulated pressures. You're going to test this man's eye discipline till he get cross-eyed or need glasses at halftime. He ain't seen no Alabama split safety disguise at game speed. Unless Durkin out there trying to just get that boy some kind of anxiety attack, which would be a bad idea. But how often you going to let him? It really ain't real until somebody try to crack your chest open. We could do it a little bit and put the jersey on. You be like, oh, I ain't see that, coach. I ain't see that. Until somebody to the play ends with you getting your chest cracked open, it ain't real. So Yanzi Pierre and several others will be glad to introduce the young man to SEC defense, real defenses. Mercer's good for FCS team, but bro, a scout team play better defense than them. Seriously, just being honest. Because our scout team actually plays, people on our scout team actually play during the SEC game. So I'm just saying. Ball security under pressure. Dynamic runners can get loose with the rock, but Bama, we got punch out artists, man. We got trap blitzes. They're gonna probe for all kind of fumbles and late throws. So he'll need to be conservative when he's backed up in certain situations. We will get the ball if he gives us an opportunity. Against the run, Auburn is strong. They are strong. They, like I said, 94 yards a rush, obviously per game. They are top tier sturdiness when it comes to the run. Their front fits are disciplined, unlike 10-15% of ours. Their linebackers scrape with speed and they win early downs. And I will tell you too, I think Auburn's linebackers have not been undersized like they have been in the past. They got a little thump on them. They win early. They force them third and longs a lot. Against the pass, that is a vulnerability relative to the run. 239 yards given up. They've allowed every game. And, the space on the perimeter and the seams that, it seems where they get beat when the rush doesn't get home. And that really works out for our tight ends. I know we're bringing a lot more tight ends into the game. I think they're trying to emphasize getting into those dead spots and getting up that seam. And like I said, I'm so sick of zone defenses in sports, period, especially the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm just getting sick. It's like nobody covers tight ends anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I just see them when they make outstanding plays. But the verdict is that Auburn is better against the run. They got a bend and don't break versus the pass. So they do play well against the pass. But, it seems like, if they don't sack you, windows seem to appear. So Ty, 3.5 seconds, dog. 3.5 seconds. If you look at left, right, left, and right, you are already messing up. I'm telling you, when you get anywhere near 5 seconds, you're probably going to the ground. Now, Atkins and Falk on defense, they stabilized that front. Like I said, their linebacker play carries leadership and communications. The scheme under Durkin shows they're really good at their pursuit angles and their spacing. The inexperience comes on the edges, the corner depth, the rotation, the flash. They can crack, though, against top receivers. And thank goodness, isn't it just wonderful that I think we have at least two. We have three receivers that do what they do very, very well. But we have two that I think in Isaiah Horton and Jeremy Bernard, they do what they do very well. And our tight end, they didn't work him earlier, but I think he is going to have a special place in this game. I think both tight ends can have it. If I got a new quarterback, I told you, running game is a quarterback best friend, but that security blanket, you know what I'm saying? That binky or that it's a tight end. That thing that makes the quarterback just feel warm and fuzzy on the inside, it is a good tight end. So I think both of them have opportunities to make plays. I'm not sure how Auburn uses theirs. I hope they don't use theirs and rely on all of their flashy receivers. But I think we will use our tight end just fine. Looking back at the 10 years of this game, Auburn has won 2 of the last 10 games. You remember, you could almost, it's memorable, the games they have won. Auburn was 2017, 24-16, 24-14, they won that game. And what's the other one? 48-45. Back in 2020, they took down Nick Saban, the GOAT. All I can say about that is people they go back and look at the road. How were they ranked? How good was Auburn when they beat us? Were they ranked nationally? I tried to look this up today, and some games came up. I wasn't sure about the year, but do not be fooled. Like I said, all the doggone stats I gave earlier don't matter in this game. This is a rivalry game on steroids. Don't nothing matter, but the final score comes Saturday night around 10:30, 11 o'clock Eastern or later if it goes into overtime. Don't nothing matter but that. Auburn being slightly under 500, not having a winning record has nothing to do with this game. I don't care. Auburn's probably more dangerous when they got 3 wins going into the Iron Bowl. This is for state pride. This is for domination of a bastion of recruiting in Alabama. Some people sitting there with their auntie on one side and the uncle on the other side with their parents in the middle saying, I don't want y'all arguing, but I'm just going to pick the school that wins. Now, he don't know that one side of that family is still going to cut him off, but that's how he going to make his decision. So you think it leaves his brain out of it, but it don't. Some things you just don't do. But, anything can happen. Alabama leads the overall series. I don't know about 9, 12 games, but that margin of error is shrinking all the time. Nick Saban ran it up for us pretty nicely, and we need the board to get it together so we can keep it going. So Auburn has pulled some big shocks over the years, the kick 6, and the wild shootout before, but these aren't like losing record wins, man. It's just that Bama fans know the difference between failure and tactics and facts, And the fact is, Alabama, we keep our hands heavy. You know what I'm saying? We punch hard, especially in this game. If we can get geeked up and play Georgia, if we can get geeked up and play against Tennessee, if we can pull ourselves back together and get through Pavia's illicit gestures on the field, he should have been fined by the SEC, and practicing kneel downs, his mental games. If we can get up for them, I think even though we're standing on that wretched field in Lee County, Alabama, we should be able to get up for these guys. I mean, the Auburn's offense, Cobb is going to grind up some yards. Coleman wants to climb that ladder, and Deuce Knight wants to go out there and run his best 200-yard time. But, that's cute until the front lines try to squeeze down their pocket and choke out them seams. If we figure that out like we figured it out before, Auburn's happy place needs to be to try to get the 3rd and 4. Outside of that, don't worry about winning the game. Alabama's goal should be to create third and forevers for the Auburn offense. I want to see this kid throw. Let's see what he does consistently when he's at 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9, and my favorite, 3rd and 19. What is he going to do when they get that holding penalty on that left tackle over there who looked like he done had too much gravy all season long and all summer? Respect the run fits, though. And Atkins burst. Alabama's receiving Simpson's anticipation turn that 239 yards allowed. We can turn that into explosives. You know what I'm saying? Like that 239 yards that Auburn gives up, that could represent 10 plays. I don't mind having a 23-yard average. That's a lot of first downs, a lot of burning of the clocks. Then if they give us that 94 yards they like to give up, that still works in my favor. So we're not just going to be able to just run through there and work it like that, but it could. And if we get that 239 up closer to 290, that works in our advantage too. You know, if Falk can be kind of grind him down early, just get him worn down early, put some bodies on him, and those DBs, hey, they good for about two or three pass interference. You know, give them PI specialists over there now. Now Auburn has been robbed on PIs, but they do PI. I don't know if it's because of size or whatever, but they do get some PIs, and so we get a couple PIs too. We're pretty good with our penalties. The rivalry at Jordan-Hare has always been weird. You know, we've lived through it. I've been to it. It's weird. Only time I've ever been assaulted by any football fan in Auburn, Alabama, was by an Alabama fan, if you could believe that crap. But that's a story for another day. So still, the better team still wears crimson, in my opinion, not orange. So amen to that. And that place is cursed, not only for visitors, but it's cursed for the home team. Just, you know, I just gotta say it. They have had some horrible endings to their games as well. Maybe not as many, but they've had some horrible games. And what is it with that spot anyway? I say rebuild off campus, go down Wild Road, closer to Tuskegee, where prosperity lives. Stop staying up there. I mean, Nick Saban called. He said the place was haunted. You know, after 17 years of wins and losses there, he swore something supernatural was at play. Translation that'd be that Auburn needed ghosts to beat Bama. Probably demons too, in my opinion. Paranoia experts have actually, in Auburn historians, they've dug in. They found Civil War lore, old farm experiments, even cremated ashes on the field. But there's no actual ghost stories tied to the stadium. So haunted, yes, it's haunted by mediocrity. That's probably the biggest problem with Jordan-Hare. AlabamaLive.com reporter, he ran a ghost hunting experiment. Why, I don't know. This man pulled out the EMF. I think that's the same thing they use on the Ghostbuster. EMF detectors to detect spirits, spirit boxes, cat toys with lights. The result, they didn't find nothing. Not a single phantom showed up, even after blasting Swag and Surfing. Now, you know, everybody come out when Swag and Surfing. So I imagine ghosts, ghouls, and goblins of Auburn, they probably would show up too. But they played Swag and Surfing and nothing showed up. Nothing changed. Kirby Smart said that it's not haunted, it's just tough. So maybe Kirby's right. But Auburn fans' energy makes weird plays happen. But not so much lately. Auburn hasn't won enough big games to keep the myth alive. So let's not start on Saturday. Let's get out there and get after them and get this over with. Bottom line, Jordan-Hare isn't hunted. It's just Auburn fans clinging on to spooky excuses for their fluky wins and for their funky losses. Just like with New Mexico State and old Jerry Kill came out and did them. They did Auburn like no other team from the other side of the West Coast, not named UCLA, Oregon, or USC has ever done Auburn, and took them out. But, you know, we know what the real curse is. The real curse happens every time Alabama rolls in and AU finds itself as a program in flux, abandoned with no one feeling comfortable in the head coach's office, which is currently vacant. Why they haven't made DJ Durkin coach? Maybe he don't want to be the coach. Maybe he gonna make more money by going to another school. But still, they are a bunch of orphan cats right now. Pace and explosives will decide this game. The downfield passing, Auburn's pass defense. If Simpson hits early posts and deep crossers, it's separation city. I think Alabama needs about 150 on the ground and a 35-minute clock advantage to win this game. And I think they'll get it. I do. I really think we'll get it. I think we'll get it together. I think we'll come up with the power and make it happen. The third down math is simple. Auburn sits 39% on offense, and they allow 36% on defense. Alabama forces worse looks with tighter spaces on the QB play. The chains will decide the breath and blood of this rivalry game, as they always do. Army, Navy. Who gets the most first downs? Side of Michigan, Ohio State. That 3A high school football game. It's decided by who gets the what's it called thing, the Egg Bowl, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. Who controls the narrative? Who controls third down? The turnover margin is real though. Alabama doesn't blink that much. We give it away too much, but we seem to get it back enough, except last week. So I'm thinking that we should be able to take these boys out. Auburn's hope is chaos. They want a chaos pandemonium with the crowd and on the field. We need to plan to be in control. Control of the clock, control of the ball, control of our faculties. And I think Auburn will be praying for a little magic to happen as usual. And we're going to try to manufacture inevitability is what I tried to write down here. Inevitability. Going in there, doing what we're supposed to do, having the right temperament, and persevering through all challenges. That's what I expect them to do, because it's about rankings, yards, ruthlessness, toughness, aggressiveness, and perseverance. And when they add all that up, the scorecard is crimson. So moving on from that, hopeful victory. I do have some different news. Due to maybe offensive play, particularly along the offensive line, lack of development of offensive line maybe, and maybe just the potential to start earlier. Alabama's early commit, Sam Utu, 6'5", 295 pounds out of California. He's backed out of his Alabama pledge. He's a number 12 tackle at on ESPN, number 76 prospect in the whole doggone 2026 class. This man is he's lurking around the SMU. He was in Dallas this weekend, and he watched SMU stomp out Louisville 38-6, and suddenly the grass looked green over there. And maybe, I don't know, could be an opportunity for him to start and whatever. So he's been committed to Alabama since June, and he's backing out. Can't be trusted. Anyway, he chose to tie it over SMU originally, Tennessee, Texas, and Washington. And it still seems to me a bunch of wannabes, if you ask me. Maybe not Texas so much. If I'd have left, I'd be probably going to Texas, I think. But his departure still leaves us with 3 offensive linemen: Chris Booker, Jared Doty, or is that Doherty? And Bear Fretwell. Yes, Bear Fretwell. Just sound like he was born to block somebody right in the face. So SMU's class is ranked 23. Alabama is, I think, top 5 right now, still trying to stay in the top 10. Hopefully by the time this Saturday is over. Wow. But the recruiting chaos is just warming up. I will keep you informed. He's now a decommit. He's flip-flopped from California to Alabama to Texas. And maybe there's another state he wants to get to. But all I got to say about that is ashes to ashes, dust to dust. For the moment, Sam is no longer with us. So all the best to you. Take care of your mom. Now, a simple word or two before I get out of here about the Alabama program, the basketball program. First, I want to address what's going on with the ladies. The Alabama Crimson Tide women's basketball team has stormed into the 25-26 season, and they are now 6-0, just in case you was not paying attention. Combining grit, defensive grit, balanced scoring, clutch performances, and they've established themselves as the early SEC contender. We got a lot of basketball to play, but they open with decisive wins over Stetson, McNeese State. Or was it just McNeese now? Alcorn State, and they showed out their offensive depth and defensive intensity versus Alabama A&M. The Tide dominated with 40 points and held their opponents to 43. That's what South Carolina didn't be doing. Well, Don Sterling, that's how they be shutting folks down. You know, we have 40 points in the paint and only gave up 43 points, period. You can't lose a game like that, can you? But that's marking their third time in 4 games they kept an opponent under 45 yards. That's crazy. The team's biggest statement came from during the Baha Mar Pete Flamingo Championship, where Alabama rolled from a halftime deficit to beat Harvard 80-60. So them girls don't won a tournament already. Jessica Timmons exploded for a season best 25 points. We got a freshman named Ace Austin, added 17. I'll be keeping my eye on Ace. You know she got to be good. And senior Carly Weathers pulled down 10 rebounds. Alabama's bench, remember last year I told you our bench would go games and games and games and score less than 5 points. Alabama's bench contributed 34 points, underscoring the depth that Coach Christy Curry has emphasized and, of course, went out somewhere and found. Statistically, Essence Cody, she is the main cog in that wheel. She's emerged as the team's leader, 15 points, 6.4 rebounds, and 2.4 blocks a game. Go ahead, Essence. Timmons provide playmaking and scoring consistency, while Austin has quickly proved herself as a reliable offensive weapon. Together, they give Alabama a balanced attack that can adapt to different opponents. I like that. So the identity is clear. Defense first, depth second. They thrive on forcing turnovers, controlling the boards, and wearing out opponents with relentless energy. Curry has praised the team's grit and toughness as she continues to push for sharper execution as she prepares for SEC play. Looking ahead, Alabama faces non-conference matchup against Kennesaw State. That shouldn't be no problem. Clemson, UL Monroe before diving into SEC competition. Let's go, ladies. Way to go. Hold tight, ladies. The real test come against the powerhouses like South Carolina, LSU, and Kentucky. I'm going to say it right now. We're going to beat one of them. One of them going to fall. I'm thinking it might be Kentucky. But all of them who are also undefeated right now. But one of them going down to the Tide. So get ready. I hope it's LSU, Kentucky, South Carolina. I'm not sure about that. But Alabama aims not just to maintain its hot streak. They trying to go to the next level, y'all. They trying to prove to everybody they belong amongst the SEC elites, and I'm with them. Alabama's women's team, they combine defensive dominance, star performance, and bench depth with a 6-0. I'm so happy for them because it just wasn't like this last year. They, with momentum building and conference play looming, the Tide's expectations are clear. They can sustain their toughness and provide that they can prove they can contend in the SEC. And what I like about this is like, okay, I know this year they may get swatted down by a bunch of teams, but if they can keep this core intact, these girls could develop as a team and really cause trouble, not just in the SEC playoffs later in the year, but be a problem in the March when March Madness kicks off, and really be somebody's problem next year. Because I ain't heard nothing about Kentucky's women's basketball very much the last couple of years. I mean, LSU was hot when they had old girl. They kind of fell off and they put it back together. But why not Alabama? The only consistent team I really, really have seen is South Carolina. Just consistently, always they're hanging around. So, why not Alabama? And now we got to talk about these dudes. The dudes who have been to 2 Final Fours or 1 Final Four? I don't know. They were doing pretty good. But now these dudes, man, they opened the season strong. They beat North Dakota at home. Then they broke the win streak that St. John's had at Madison Square Garden. And the offense looked explosive. Multiple players were contributing double figures. Team was averaging like 90 points. Everybody's like, oh, okay, that's them. They back. But the Tide stumbled against Purdue in Tuscaloosa, dropping a close 87-80 at home. They bounced back against Illinois. They showed some resilience there. had clutch shooting for a 90 to 80-60 victory. However, in their most recent test, the boys kind of showed they just not ready for prime time. They played Gonzaga out there and they got exposed. Defensive lapses all over the place when the Bulldogs of Gonzaga pulled away late for a 95 to 85 victory for them, loss for Alabama. LeBaron Fallon, who returned from the NFL Combine, the NBA Summer League, like, nope, not ready. He has been cooking. You know what I'm saying? He's like averaging 20 points, 6 assists per game, but it's not enough. Amari Allen has been a force on the board, averaging 8 points. And Aiden Holloway has been a perimeter scorer and playmaker, but ain't been enough. The offensive ratings are still there, but the problem is like now the defense that should have been better last year, it seems like it's worse this year. You got defensive struggles, lapses, lags, highlighting a big need for improvement. Nate Oates is emphasizing toughness and rebounding, but the Gonzaga loss showed that Alabama is vulnerable against elite competition. In a league that has your current national champion, we can't have no vulnerabilities against elite competition. That ain't gonna work. Come on now. The Tide, they allow too many second chance opportunities, and they struggle to contain physical forwards. Definitely missing Grant Nelson and Clifford Amore, and amongst others from the last year's squad, who people graduated, transferred out, went to the NBA. We missing toughness on the inside. So looking ahead, you know that schedule is looking ugly. It's looking ugly. Got more ranked opponents before SEC play even start. Even more. More Gonzagas. More Purdue. More teams tough like a St. John's and a Madison Square Garden. More Illinois type teams. Before SEC play. The home of the national champion. The team is currently ranked outside of the top 10. Well, inside of the top 10, but at 3-2, I don't see how. I guess they lost to some really good teams. They'll need to tighten this thing up on defense and maintain still the offensive efficiency. So I think it could be anything. It could be positioning, it could be strategy, it could be just stamina. But the expectations remain high. Alabama is built to contend for the SEC title and go deep into the NCAA tournament run. But if they don't fix their defense, especially if people know what your defensive weaknesses are. Oh, yeah. If you got a forward on the wing, they can't handle that. What you think they're going to get? You're going to get a whole, you're going to get not a six-pack. You're going to get a case of that every doggone game. Yeah. Put your guard, your best player. Yeah, just put him at the 3 and give him the ball. All we're doing is giving up 5 shots and 2 pointers. That's all they need. They got to get sharp to get in March. Need consistency, especially on defense, just like last year, and that will determine whether we can return to our top 10 billing. And speaking of billing, let me go find ways to pay a couple of mine. This was a very difficult show, breaking the ice again, getting back out here. I don't know what my buttons are. I don't know what my words are. I'm just trying to figure all this stuff out. I don't like the way my picture look. Look at that. Let's see what is all that about. I got to tweak some things to get back into it, but hopefully I'm back to stay and to keep it going. I want to thank everybody for joining me and checking this program out. Shout out to the brothers at Be Sharp Sharpshooters Podcast, Kangaroo Black, Bama Moore, the Long Run with Peter. Man, I can't even read these folks' names right now. Golly. Anyway, I want to thank those guys for making Alabama great always. Roll Tide to all of them. And shout out to my peoples. These my peoples, my homeboys, my home slices, and some new homies. The people at Auburn Addicts. Yeah, what's up? Water Cooler Podcast, who both of them have expected the Alabama loss, of course, since, I don't know, I think Christmas in July, they was talking about that. Bub and the old man, I know they want Alabama to lose. It's SEC season. Yeah, I know he wanted to lose. He wanted Alabama to lose. And Dustin over at the Up-Tempo Podcast definitely wants Alabama to lose. And the Huggy Beard, who is not only an Auburn fan, but a Florida State fan, a.k.a. the Rooster Mac, He wants 2 wins against Alabama, but he can't have it. And shout out to Vandy Chris at the Golden Broom. I don't know what y'all record is. Y'all really blew the chance to go to the playoffs, I think. Get Pavia out of there, man. I don't think that man besmirched the character of Vanderbilt any further with his antics. But anyway, I'm hoping that all these Auburn podcasters end Saturday talking about how they are far away from being relevant in SEC football. That's my hope. And check with me during the game. No need to roll alone. You know, I'll be on probably before kickoff, trying to figure out what's wrong with my picture, trying to see what's wrong with my stream. I will be there if the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. I gotta say that because it's been a tough 10 days. And with that, we will see you all next Tuesday right here on Around the Herd at 7 p.m. 6 p.m. Central on the Central Time Zone, 7 Eastern. And with that, let me shut this one down. And I'm taking me a lot of notes after this doggone thing. But no matter what happens, always remember, roll, tide, roll.